everyone! It's me, Percy, the number 6 green engine. Are you ready to listen to some awesome stories? You are? That sounds Percy perfect. Full steam ahead. Happy listening.
Thomas and Friends, All Engines Go. Where's Percy? Based on a story by Peter Gaffney. Adapted by Ellen Philpott. It was a special day for Thomas. He was making his 10,000th delivery.
I'm going to be awarded a special sticker,
said Thomas excitedly.
Everyone's going to be at Brendam Docks to celebrate,
said Percy.
You'll have to give a speech.
Thomas was not sure what he would say in a speech. He started to think of ideas.
Maybe I could start with a joke,
Thomas muttered to himself.
Or I could thank my friends.
He was so busy working on his speech that he didn't notice he had pulled ahead of Percy.
Thomas, wait!
Called Percy.
I've got a joke you can tell.
But Thomas didn't hear. He chugged away, talking to himself and not listening at all. Soon Percy was left behind. Lost in thought, Thomas zoomed on around a sharp bend. Percy tried to catch up with him, but the heavy pipes he was carrying held him back. When he came to the bend, Percy lost his balance.
Whoa!
Percy cried as he went crashing through the bushes. He skidded along, finally bumping to a stop at the bottom of the hill.
Thomas!
Called Percy, but there was no reply. He tried to charge back up the hill, but it was so steep and bumpy that he tumbled back down again. Meanwhile, Thomas hadn't even noticed that poor Percy was missing. As he rolled into Brendam Docks, Kana, Nia, and Diesel gave him a big cheer.
Congratulations on making 10,000 deliveries, Thomas,
cried Sir Topham Hatt. Thomas turned to grin at Percy, but his friend was nowhere to be seen.
Where's Percy gone?
Asked Thomas. Thomas felt terrible. He realized that he hadn't been paying attention to Percy at all.
The award will have to wait,
he said.
I must go and find my friend.
Thomas went to check the recycling plant.
I can't find Percy,
he told Bruno.
Think about every stop you made and when you made it,
suggested Bruno.
That's always a good way to find something, and it works for friends too.
I know Percy was with me when we went past Crumble Canyon. I'll check there,
Thomas replied. Arriving at the place where he had last seen Percy, Thomas spotted a big Percy-shaped hole in the hedge. He realized that Percy must have fallen off the track.
Don't worry, Percy! I'm coming!
He called as he leaped bravely through the gap. Suddenly, Thomas found himself flying off the side of the hill. He slipped and skidded at high speed down the treacherous slope. When he reached the bottom, he picked himself up, determined to make sure Percy was safe. All this time, Percy had been quite lost. After a while, he spotted an old, overgrown track and started making his way carefully down it. Up ahead of him was a junction. In one direction stood a dark, gloomy old tunnel. In the other was a huge, muddy puddle. Percy didn't know which way to go. Slowly, he rolled up to the tunnel entrance. Looking inside, he trembled at the dark shadows all around.
No, it's too dark for me in there,
Percy decided.
Anyway, I don't mind a bit of lovely mud.
He reversed back to the junction. Then, taking a run-up, he zoomed happily down the other track and straight through the big muddy puddle. Split! splish! Percy giggled with glee as the mud sprayed up in the air. Soon, Thomas arrived at the same junction.
Which way did Percy go?
He wondered. He looked at the tunnel,
I'm sure he would have found that way too dark and scary.
thought Thomas. He set off the other way, through the huge puddle. Splash! Now it was Thomas's turn to be covered in mud. As Percy chugged on, the track split again. One way, there was a long, winding track down into a deep valley. The other way led to a big, swaying bridge. Percy shuddered.
That's Sodor's suspension bridge.
He puffed.
It would be the quickest way back to Brendam Docks, but it's terribly high up.
As he started to inch his way across the bridge, it made a loud creaking sound. Then it started to sway.
No, I don't like this,
Gulped Percy, and he reversed off the bridge. Breathing a sigh of relief, he chugged off into the valley instead. When Thomas pulled up to the junction, he took one look at the swaying, creaking bridge and headed down into the valley. He knew that Percy would not have crossed the bridge. Percy didn't like heights. Down in the valley, Percy was trying to choose between 3 tracks. Just then, he heard a cheerful noise. Quack, quack,
I love ducks,
said Percy, and headed in the direction of the quacking. The track was covered in brambles, but he hopped carefully over them. Thomas was only just behind Percy, but he didn't know it. He was muddy, tired, and starting to feel a little gloomy.
3 tracks to choose from,
he thought.
How do I know which one Percy took?
Then he heard the quacking.
Percy loves ducks,
said Thomas.
He's gone that way.
Thomas ignored the brambles that prickled his sides. At last, he spotted his friend up ahead on the track. Percy was delighted.
How did you find me?
He asked in amazement.
Well, I knew you wouldn't go through that shadowy tunnel,
said Thomas.
It was too dark and scary. And you don't like heights, so you wouldn't have gone over the bridge.
Percy nodded in agreement.
And then I heard the ducks, so I knew you would have come this way.
The 2 friends laughed together.
You know me so well, Thomas,
said Percy.
It shows you do sometimes listen to me after all. I'm sorry I didn't pay attention earlier,
said Thomas.
I was too busy thinking about my celebration. Let's go,
said Percy, and the 2 friends zoomed together into Brendam Docks.
Thomas, you made it!
said Sir Topham Hatt.
I am delighted to award you this special sticker. But wait, you're covered in mud and brambles.
He got in a mess trying to find me,
grinned Percy.
You're lucky to have such a good friend,
said Sir Topham Hatt.
But maybe Thomas should have a wash before he gets his special award.
I think that would be a good idea,
Thomas agreed, as his friends all laughed and cheered.